Hello, in this tutorial I'm going to show you how to make a simple dispenser mechanism where you push a button and you receive an item. For this we're going to be using Unreal Engine 4 and we're going to be using blueprints. I have a third-person tutorial project that I use as a sandbox for creating different things like this, making tutorials. So we're going to be using that. So I'm going to be referencing third-person character things throughout this. You can do the same concept. Basically, the ideas in this you can apply to different blueprints, different items, different games. It's the ideas that you want to learn here. So first thing we're going to do is make a blueprint class of the type actor. This is going to be our thing that gets dispensed. I'm just going to name this my item underscore BP. Save that, open that up, and I'm just going to throw a cube on there, and I will make it small, I'll make it smaller, and I'll just make it red, and I'm going to check simulate physics in the details panel there, and I'm going to compile and save. I'm going to close it. That's all I should need for that, unless I forgot something. Crazier things have happened. So we're going to make another blueprint of the actor class, and we will name this dispenser underscore BP. Save it. Open it. And before I forget, the first thing I want to do is go up here, event begin play, drag off of that, and enable input. And then off the player controller pin, I'm going to drag and I'm going to get player controller. That should be good on this for a minute. Before I forget, I'm going to put my input in. So I'm going to go to Edit, Project Settings, Input, and I already have, So I already have this interact action that I use for some of the other things in this project. So I'm going to be using that. You won't have this by default, so you need to go into your project settings, input, and then you can just hit the little plus sign for action mappings, and then you name it whatever you want, and then select your input. I used the E key. So then we'll go back to our dispenser blueprint, and we'll get into this. So we've enabled input for this, and that's good. That's a good start. So we're going to go to our viewport, and I'm going to need a button. And let's make a cylinder. And we'll name that button. We're going to rotate it 90 degrees this way. And we'll just make it a lot smaller and then narrow. Alright. That'll be our button. We'll walk up to it. We'll do something. I'm going to make this blue. And then off of there, I want to add another component. I'm going to do a box collision. And I'm going to call that standing zone. It's going to be in front of our button. And it's going to be roughly the shape of a person that would want to stand in front of it. So now what I'm going to do with this is we're going to make sure our character is standing there before we let anything function, because it doesn't make any sense to be pushing a button from the other side of the room. And then what we're going to do after that is I'm just going to take a cube, and I do not want this cube to be a child of that. I'm going to drag it up. I'm going to attach the cube to our default scene root. And I'm going to bring that out here. Alright, make it back to a regular cube. Make it a little smaller. And I'm going to add a box collision underneath that. And we'll call this spawn zone. And I want that to be underneath my cube. And yeah, that size should be great. I'm going to make the dispenser the same color as my button over there. Alright. So the whole thing starts when the character stands in front of the button. So we're going to select that box collision titled standing zone. And then down here on our details panel we have events. We're going to do begin overlap, add, pop back over to viewport, select that again, end overlap, add one there. And then off both of these we're going to cast to third person character. Again, if you're doing this in a first person character, then you would cast to first person character or whatever. However you're accessing the character for the appropriate project, you're going to do that cast. This is going to make sure that the character is actually standing there when we interact with the object. And so then up here, we're going to do our, sorry, what is it called? It's called interact. And it was there. There we go. So on this, off of the released, I'm going to drag a gate. And that's going to go right into the enter. Now on this input action, I'm going to uncheck consume input because I have this interact working with other objects on this level. And I'm going to drag both of these in. So what we're going to have here is the character enters the standing zone, we open the gate. And he leaves, we close the gate. If the gate's open and we press our interact key, we can enter the gate, which goes to. First, we're going to do a do once node so that we can kind of limit the flow. So you don't actually tap it twice and get two things. You can't spam it. I'm going to kind of control it here a little. And I have a sound that I use for something else, so I'm just going to stick this in here. This is not important. It's fun for me. I'm going to use that. And then here's the real meat and potatoes, what we're doing here. Spawn actor from class. And then off of this, we're going to enable our do once to be reset. I'm going to drag off the output exec. Put a 1 second delay. And then I'll drag completed back to our reset. So that is going to allow us to do this once every second. And then off the spawn transform, I'm going to right click on that and I'm going to split struct pin. I don't care about scale, I don't care about rotation. I want them however the blueprint is. So for select class, I'm going to find my item. And then I'm going to drag out our spawn zone here. And then off that, I will get location. I'm going to get the world location of this. So exactly where that collision box is will be where we spawn our item. Now, we've saved and compiled. Let's go ahead and test this out. Let's see if I forgot anything. Alright. Over here in our details panel, you can find our button with the standing zone. Standing zone is a child of that. So we can rotate that 90 degrees and push it back against the wall. And how's the height on that? Probably. Yeah. Make it a little bigger in here. You know what, that right there looks great. And then so with our cube and the spawn zone, which is a child of it, I'll make those a little bigger as well, and push it up, and I'll push it back against the wall. Alright, save all. Let's test this out. Walk up to my button, interact, and there's my cube. And all sorts of different things you can use this for. This is the original thing from my sandbox, this ball dispenser. I have a dynamic material that is set to a random color every time it makes a ball. And then if you push this down here, that thing sucks them up. And then I got that ball counter up in the top left corner.
Boing.
Alright, sorry I'm getting carried away here. Let's go back to making more cubes. Okay, so we'll go over that again real quick. Edit, project settings, input, interact, which is bound to the E key. And we have an item which has physics simulated on it. And we have another blueprint which has a collision box to detect whether or not we're standing there, and a collision box to spawn our object. And on our standing zone, we have a begin-end overlap casting to our character with our input action, all three of those running to a gate, a do once node running through a sound, going to spawn actor from blueprint, or spawn actor from class, excuse me, resetting with a delayed node, and we're getting the world location of our spawn zone to put into our transform location, which we got from splitting the struct pin. Originally was just transform. You could have kept that all one and just dragged get world location to that transform without splitting it, and it would have converted it, which ultimately is just getting rid of the non-existent rotation and scale information. Actually, I'll just show you. Recombine. So this is how the split actor from, or excuse me, this is how the spawn actor from class comes. And right there we have spawn transform, and get world location, and this gives you a vector of just the location. We'll drag this off, convert vector to transform, and that's all you really need to do with that, and we're all set. Alright, and that's going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed, and thanks for watching.